Okay, seems I'm live. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Hisame Artwork. Today I'm going to continue coloring pages from my comic book Niels Feynman. We've gotten to page... let's see... I have so many and the 50s now. I know it seems like a lot to me, but I'm sure for you it doesn't seem so much. Like 50 pages, not that much for a comic book. So 55. No, not now. So I'm using Clip Studio Paint to do the pages. The line art is made by June Fender, my friend. And I have one person watching. Hi there. Welcome to my channel. I'm gonna shrink that a bit, and I'm gonna open the navigator so you can see where I am. And first I'm gonna edit the line art a bit. Because it's not exactly the way I wanted it, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of change here quickly. Usually if it's something I can do myself, I don't bother June with it anymore. Because it takes a lot to do the line art for the page like this, so usually I want her to focus on the next page. So I just clean up the stray lines. So here is Erwin the cat, and he's really proud of himself now. He just made someone's life miserable, as cats often do, and he's super pleased with himself. I do play a lot into the cats are evil scenario. Erwin is a stereotype. It's actually one of the few funny stereotypes you can still play into. Otherwise, you're just gonna offend one person or another population. It must be really tough for comedians these days. A lot of the jokes you can't tell them anymore. Personally, I'm not too grumpy about that. If there are jokes that I don't like, I'll just not listen to that comedian. What's his name? Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock often do misogynist jokes, and I just don't listen to those. I listen to their other jokes that I do find funny. I do kind of see a pattern in the way American comedians kind of tell their jokes, and they have these pauses to deliver the joke and get the reaction from the public. I thought that was interesting. You don't see it in um, other foreign comedians unless they try and emulate the American structure. Seems more fluid and improvised. The how British comedians say jokes. But there hasn't been anything good coming out of there in a while now. At least it hasn't reached me. It's John Oliver, and he went to the USA. It's just such a big outlet. I just don't think that BBC or other channels like that have the possibility. I mean, BBC is very strong on the documentary side, but the rest, not so much. Maybe the news, but I always find their news boring or sad. Pretty much every news is sad and boring. I can't think of one that isn't. So this is his right hand ink and right color. So the action of my story takes place in Cambridge in the 17th century, just as Isaac Newton was finishing writing his Principia Mathematica. Not sure exactly how in Latin is. I think it's Principia, maybe, depends. Not sure. I haven't done Latin in such a long time. Also, Latin changed the pronunciation over the centuries, but I think the last kind of Latin that was kind of used in at the time was more of a Principia Mathematica than a Principia. Hi Kezar, how's it going? How is school? Can you hear me okay? I hear you fine. School is okay too, I guess. In what grade are you? Are you in high school or in college? I don't remember what you said. I'm in high school, 11th grade. Oh, you gotta start choosing your university where you're gonna uh, get your degree from. Is everybody pestering you? Have to make an important life decision? You will set your future in stone and there will be no turning back. Dun, dun, dun. My sister's in high school too, and I think she's in the 10th grade now. Yeah. And she's gonna go study construction. At least that's what she wants now. And studying German for that as well. More grammar. I can't say I'm a fan of grammar. Out of all the languages I've studied, I'd say that Japanese grammar is the easiest. Yeah, it's kind of stressful, but I'm pretty sure I'll go into medicine or biology. Oh yeah, I remember. That's awesome. We really don't have enough of those around. A friend of mine, she finally finished medical school and she became a hematologist. So she was happy, like, oh, finally finished with school. I really do appreciate the work that doctors do. It's not something that I would ever do because I'm really squeamish and I don't like talking to other people too much anyway. And like she all the time she tells me stories about really stupid patients that sometimes come and they don't seem to understand what they're being told, like you should take your medicine or you will die, and they're like, oh, I skipped it because I was fasting and the Lord said not to eat anything, so they didn't take their pills. And then they end up at the emergency room. I'm like, you costing people money. I mean, they don't say that, but I'm thinking it. Like, we already have the hospitals that are clogged, and you don't have enough doctors to go around. Like, you're not helping by doing silly things. And I think if I was a doctor, I would just be super annoyed that I tell a patient, hey, you're sick with this, you have to take these pills, and then they don't, and they end up back at the hospital. I'm like, I just fixed you. Why are you back here? I drew it on the wrong layer. Damn. Another friend of mine, she's what's it called? In the lab, and she does research on blood and other things like that. Does the analysis, and she was super happy. I don't have to talk to the patients. It's so much easier. Because I mean, in Romania we do have a shortage of doctors, and there's always a line. Like I remember when I got a very bad amygdala infection, like my entire lymphatic system was if I turned my head, all the lymph nodes were so big. I'd look like a monster, you know, like when you see one of those Frankenstein movies and it looks like someone's been put together from different pieces and they don't match up. So when I would turn my neck, like all the lymph nodes would stand out. It would be really creepy. So that was pretty bad. Um, and I ended up at the hospital because I couldn't breathe anymore. And I was just sitting there and sitting there for like an hour and a half and just trying to breathe. And finally, my mom recognized a nurse and she was like, "Hey, my daughter can't breathe. Can you find some doctor for her, please?" And she got this lady from her lunch break. So I interrupted her lunch break and she looked in my throat and she was like, "Oh, this is serious." And I got sent to emergency. So that was a fun day. So I think it's gonna be really tough as a doctor. So fingers crossed you survive. Are you thinking of going abroad maybe? Or are you gonna stay in the country? Hi Anna, how are you? How's it going? I would like to stay in the country if possible, yeah. It has nice mountains and the food is better than the US. I'm tired too much gardening today. Oh, you got to do some gardening. That's good for you. Can I have some gardening, please? Here it's still full of snow everywhere, and it's still going to continue to snow. Up until May. Last year, I think I had some snow in May. Not too much. Just a little bit. So I'm ready for spring. Yeah, my sister told me as well that like they barely had any snow and it seems pretty weird to me. I mean, in a way I'm kind of glad for them because it was less filth around because they usually don't clean it well and there's just mud everywhere. It's 4 degrees but it's sunny. I think it's pretty warm today here too in Michigan. Michigan weather. Oh, it's even warmer here. It's 8 degrees. So I don't know. Like it's super weird cause everything is so flat here. The wind just blows every which way and the weather changes according to that. half a night but melted after. I could use some nice weather. I've gotten so fat over the winter, I need to get out and move my legs. I mean, you know, usually in winter you become skinny, not fat, but thanks to modern agriculture and transportation, I am now able to survive winter successfully with not even some weight loss. I'm gonna roll out the house. I'm gonna like, you know, like those fat cats that can barely fit to get out of through the doggy door, through the kitty cat door. I'm like that. If I was a cat, I would definitely be like that. I'm like trying to squeeze out and be poof. And yeah. It's really weird here. You don't have sidewalks. You don't have sidewalks. Why don't they have sidewalks? And if you want to go through the forest anywhere, everything is super small. And it's a lot of private property. Like everywhere you want to go, there's private property, and these people, some of them are not right in the head, and they will shoot you because you stepped on their property, and they're too cheap to buy a fence. So what they do is they nail on a tree private property, and if you don't see that, you can like accidentally wander into someone's property and get shot. And I think they still have this medieval system where they have their private little forest, so they get wood from there to warm up their house because they don't have normal heating system because they're in a remote area. I mean, the roads are not paved, and you have like houses in the woods that are connected through dirt roads. It's pretty strange because we're not in the mountain, it's flat land. So I kind of find it strange to have this because I don't remember ever having this kind of arrangement in Romania. I don't know, Anna, do you have neighbors like hidden in the forest? Because I know you're in a mountainous region. Like, do you have people that live all their lives isolated like that? Oops. Here in Italy, yeah. As for lack of paved roads and heating, I'd say there's plenty of that in Romania. Yeah, there's plenty of that, but they don't live that isolated. Like in Romania, you have more of the cocoon style of arrangement because we had nobility, and so um, you had people clustered together, and then you had the nobleman's house that was pretty close by, and then all the field area around it. Because, for example, my grandparents had their house like that for a long time. They didn't have heating or sewage or paved roads until 10-15 years ago. But they never were isolated like that to live in the middle of the forest. And I think it's because they were in a hill type of situation, so I don't have any relatives that live in completely flat areas or mountainous. So I'm kind of curious as to what caused people to want to live in such isolation. Because it seems to be more of a choice than a result of the environment. And some of them live in trailers in the forest, and I'm not sure if that's even legal. Although they did have a well dug in front of their trailer home. And they were like alone in the forest with a trailer home and a well dug in front. So I'm kind of curious as to what legislation there is. Because definitely you have lower taxes if you live outside of the town or village. So that's why some people will build their house at the city limit, right beyond the city limits. But as to why they would be like in the middle of the forest like that seems kind of odd. Maybe they're hippies, like they like living off the grid and in a clean eco way. Maybe. Because none of these houses are old, like all of them are really new. So I think maybe it's more of a new trend that's started here in the US to live without electricity and internet. Because I didn't knock on their door to see what their social status was. See, oh, you're rich and you like to live eco-friendly, or you're really poor and this is the only place where you can find to live. Oh, it's supposed to stay black. There we go. Because in Romania, if anybody's living in these conditions because of poverty, I don't think we have much of a eco green movement in Romania. But I'm glad they have this tiny house trend now, because the American houses were ridiculously big. I mean, they are ridiculously big. Bears, not so much in this area because they shot them all and I think they're all dead, extinct in this area, but you definitely have cougars like a lady's dog was eaten last year or 2 years ago by a cougar. She was like walking her dog in town, and the cougar came, attacked the dog, killed it, and then ran away. And I'm not sure if it took the dog as a snack or um, just mortally wounded it. I don't remember the story, but the roads are not lit here like in Bucharest. Bucharest is very luminous because it's a capital. It doesn't sleep. It's 24/7 lit everywhere, pretty much. Um, Maybe there's some neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods that aren't well lit, but most of Bucharest is well lit, and I generally lived in the nicer parts of the city, so I'm used to everything being well lit and me just being able to walk at night, no problem. But I went to visit a friend, and then I wanted to go back home, which was like 150 meters away, and would have to go on some little maybe 300 meters. I'm not sure exactly of the distance, but it was pretty close. Like in 5 minutes walking I could get home, and none of the streets were lit at the time. There have been some accidents with students getting hit and killed, so they've since put lights in that area, but when I wanted to go home, it wasn't lit, and it was really strange. Like, I was walking in the dark, and then I remembered the cougar story, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go back. And I went back and asked her to drive me home. And she was like, yes, good choice. Because initially I was like, nah, I'm gonna walk home. Come on, like 5 minutes walking. I'm not gonna go with the car for 5 minutes. This is ridiculous. Weird American thing. I'm not gonna do it. I'm better than that. And then I saw it was really dark, and remember, like I said, the cougar story, and I was looking around and thinking maybe it's in the shadows and I don't even see it and I'm gonna get eaten and die. So I quickly changed my mind on that. And I drove with the car. Um, she drove me the car like the couple of meters that I needed to go. It seems so stupid to travel such a small distance by car. But that's how it was. And I got home and my husband, yes, it's a good idea to do that here. Especially at night. And I mean, if you've lived in Bucharest your whole life, I don't, maybe you're a bit younger so you don't remember what it's like to be attacked by a pack of stray dogs, because we used to have like a big problem with that in Bucharest, and they were like, their dog poop everywhere. Like you couldn't walk and watch your phone. Like, you had to pay attention to where you were walking if you didn't wanna bring to school something extra on your feet, and then the whole class would smell because of you, and you'd get kicked out of the classroom. Like, go wash your shoes, man, you stink. And it was like really bad because you'd have to like jump on one leg or kind of walk on the heel if you was most of it on the front of the foot, and then you would have to walk all weird till you get to the courtyard, and you have to bring a hose or something like that to wash your shoe. and then you would return to the classroom. Or sometimes if the teacher didn't want to let you do that, you would have like you would leave your shoes at the door and sit in class without one of your shoes so you can attend the class. Like it wasn't something that you could use to skip class and be like, "Oh, teacher, I'm sorry, I stepped in poo," and like leave for the entire hour and pretend to go wash. Or sometimes you couldn't get away with it like that. So here's the lady that noticed in the previous page that uh, Niels is not from around here. So she took notice of him and now is trying to tell her friend about talking dogs and weird little boys. And her friend is not really believing her. Now, if your neighbor would come to you and start telling you about talking dogs, I mean, you would look at them with suspicion, right? Like they're trying to pull your leg or prank you. If time travel was ever possible, I think a lot of people would go back in time and just try and prank um, the locals. Where I can get some. Well, I think if you become a doctor, you'll have more opportunities to ask questions like this. I heard like the kind of people that end up in the hospital. A friend of mine had a friend who worked as a nurse at the hospital, at the emergency room, or the emergency section. And the kind of things that people do, and they get themselves into trouble. It just has no end. The stories are endless. Do you follow Awkward Yeti and the medical tales that he has? Like, I always enjoy those. So funny. And he's antipastic as well. Oh, there are no episodes. He removed them? Really? Medical tales retold. So you have these medical tales. And you can find him on Facebook as well. Awkward Yeti has a website. And you can read them for free here. Because he has a lot of stuff that is public. Some of them you have to buy it sometimes, depends. I think he's on Webtoons. No, subscribed. There we go. I mean, some of them are here. But they're not his best. You can find him on Facebook and you have more recent ones that are really funny. Where's the website? So let me show you one of his pages. So mostly the comics are about his organs having discussions with each other. Yeah, sure, keep the links, and when you have time you read them, because there's a lot of content that you can go over. And when you have time, like an afternoon or something like that, you can sit down, get a cup of coffee, tea, whatever you like, and read them. Oh, my tablet turned off. I took the cable out, so here we go, it's on battery. See ya. You too. Have a good night. Sweet dreams. Thanks for coming by. What color of eyes did I give her? Oh, I gave her like olive colored eyes. So, go back. Oops. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now I'm on the right layer. Finally. And since she has freckles, I'm kinda gonna give her more of a blondish reddish color. I think you would have this in East England in Cambridge. I mean, I don't think at the time redheads were only in Scotland. I'm pretty sure they were everywhere in the British area. So this is 17th century diversity. Woohoo! I don't know if anybody here watches. There are some what do you call them? Chinese comedy channels on YouTube, and whenever they impersonate a white person, they put on blonde wigs that look really, really bad. And they have some pretty funny sketches, like how do you know if you have Chinese parents or Western parents? Because there are some Chinese families that have been in the US for a couple of generations, so they don't behave like the stereotypical um, Chinese parent. And they kind of had this little test. How do you know if your parents are Chinese? And it was pretty funny. They had like this whole comedy sketch where the Chinese parent was chasing the child, and if he got like a bad grade, he would get beaten. Or they keep giving him food until he can't eat anymore, and then they complain that he's fat. It's called the Chang Show, I think. They also did some kind of history lessons, but funny enough, they're kind of Americanized. They um, don't actually reflect what the Chinese government says. For the example, they were saying that the Shang dynasty is a myth, and if you listen to Chinese scholars at Chinese universities where they teach history, and they say that the Shang dynasty existed for sure, and it got their asses kicked by the Zhaos. If I am pronouncing it right, the issue is that all of these names are translated through English, and English is a very bad middle language for this. It's not a phonetical language. So it's like the telephone, the game, you know, where you say something and then as it passes through more people, it gets distorted even more. So I think it's so bad at this point because of the English translations that when I was talking to one of my neighbors, and I asked a Chinese neighbor, and I asked him about Empress Wu, she was like, "What? You had an empress and her name was Wu. I mean, you didn't have that many empresses. I mean, surely you can guess what I'm saying." And she was like, "No, we never had any empress." And I was like, "What?" Either they don't teach you this in school, or your English is even worse than mine and we're not understanding each other. I don't know what it was, but it was funny for me anyway. Trying to learn about Chinese history from an actual Chinese person and not succeeding. I'm gonna give them... Did they have any other type of salad? I don't know, maybe I shouldn't mess with this because I don't know what vegetables they had. But I kind of suspect that salad is pretty old. Salad. I mean, you would have it 300 years ago. Salad. Plant. Oh, lettuce. It's lettuce in English. Okay. Almost. History. Let's see. It's cultivated in ancient Egypt. Passed to the Greeks, Romans. And many early herbals describes its uses. Okay, so we had salad in the UK, and I think they ate it. Eggs, did they have chickens then? I think they had chickens, but it was pretty rare. I think they mostly had geese. Goose, egg, what color is it? I'm curious. Okay, it's white and it has speckles. That's simple. Make it egg white. I'm not gonna put the speckles, I think, because it's already too much detail and it's really tiny, so you're not gonna notice it. Anna, have you seen Lucas the Spider? So for those of you that don't know, there's a short little animation series of animations called Lucas the Spider. Isn't it just adorable? And the voice for it is just perfect. It's perfect. It's a series of short films. They're like a minute and a half, like they're microfilms, like little clips. And it's just so adorable. They've already started stealing the episodes, so let me go and give you the right link, as I'm subscribed to him. So this is the correct channel. Have you seen an anime called Land of Lustrous Hoseki no Kuni? No. Let's see. Is it PG? Like if I show this on my channel, I'm not gonna get a strike or something like that. Land of Lustrous. Because I have to like say when I post non-PG stuff. I think I saw a review. And I didn't understand what it was about, and it looks like super weird. Is it any good? Ew. Oh, the tears are really gross looking. I can't remember if it's something that I was interested in. I think I wasn't, because I would have remembered it. I don't know. Is it good? Do you think it's interesting? It's cute. I like the 3D animation. I think maybe that's why I didn't like it. 'Cause it's hard to get 3D animation well, and if it's not moving enough, it looks weird to me. What is the story about? Like, what happens in the story? It's about gemstones who went alive after human went extinct. The protagonist is a weak gemstone who wants to change. Isn't it kind of a rip-off of that cartoon show? It kind of had the same premise with gemstones. I don't know why teenagers need to like put everything in little boxes. Like, why does it appeal to them so much, these type of cartoons that put people in different categories? And you have the same thing with Monster University, with those girls, like one's a mummy and the other's a vampire, and you kind of have to choose which one you are. Secrets about their creation. Can't remember that cartoon. Cartoon Network Gem TV show. No, Jewel. Steven Universe, I think it's called. Oh, the train. Sorry. And it started in 2013, and this one's called Hoseki no Kuni. Let's see, which one was first? This one was first. So you could be forgiven to believe that the Americans copied these guys, which I wouldn't be surprised, because it's not the first time Americans copy something Japanese. It's rarely the other way around. So, haha, Cartoon Network. Caught you. I don't know the story of both. The story of Hoseki is interesting. I read the whole manga, even if it's drawn. uh, I mean, yeah, I don't find the style very appealing either. Like, what the hell is this? Very trippy. Definitely very trippy. And of course, it has to have a pretty anime girl with skimpy outfit, because, like, that's trademark Japanese for the pedo in you. Like, look at that. I would be cold to go around like that. And of course, there's an old guy that's watching over them. Like, not creepy at all. Not creepy at all. And they have swords? It reminds me of Chomp comics. Chomp. Chomp comics, I think. Chompo. Clamp, maybe it was Clamp. Clamp comics? Clamp. Yeah. But these are not the most exaggerated. Like, I've seen a lot more exaggerated. I think Clamp is just a distributor. And there was one artist there that, like, did them really... Oh, and Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon. Yeah. Sailor Moon comics. They are sexless gems. They don't feel cold. Yes, sexless gems. That's why they dress like that. Sailor Moon comics. Yeah, I would say that the face resembles. Let's see, Sailor Moon. There we go. No, these legs are thick. They're not as skinny as I've seen. Yeah, it's Tsubasa Chronicle legs, and ours are too long. Oh, remember Olive Oil? Olive Oil, yeah. Olive Oil character. But she's a lot less shapeful. I'm actually glad that she wasn't so sexualized. I think it's better. Because you had Betty Boop for that. And Olive Oil was a different color, kind of gal. She had inner beauty, I think. I don't know. Her personality was never really developed. Yeah. I think at the time olive oil was created, Americans did not know what olive oil was, so it just sounded cool and they named her Olive Oil. Let's see. Olive Oil first appearance. No, Olive Oil. Oil. 1990. I'm willing to bet that there weren't enough Italians in the Americas at that point that the American population knew what olive oil was. Because if they were mostly British, they didn't know what good food was. What's the English name of Poldo? I wonder. Who's Poldo? I don't know who Poldo is. Like, I can't... Paul is the guy who eats hamburgers in Popeye. Paul de Popeye. Popeye characters. Let's see. Oh, so you have Wellington Wimpy. I did not remember his name, so it seems to be J. Wellington Wimpy. And Betty Boop is in. No, I don't think it's just related. Cause it's old cartoons. Wellington Wimpy. I'm glad to pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Yeah, I like food too. And his hamburger is really low budget. I mean, it looks like meat on bread. Meat cool pâine. Yeah. So traditional Romanian food. It's actually pretty tasty. I miss it. Like I would like some now, but maybe not as burnt. Like those look cremated. These look okay. And on bread. uh, yeah, sometimes we do joke about it. And here the little girl sees Erwin behaving weirdly, and she thinks it's the Shug monkey. So the Shug monkey is a mythical creature in Cambridge folklore. And it's kind of a mix of a dog and a monkey. So she thinks it's the Shug monkey. So the Shug monkey. And I think it was okay for girls to be dressed in blue at the time. I'm not sure. Like, I know for 100 years ago blue was okay, but I don't know for longer than that what was the custom. Might have been just dressed in white. But I think it's like a really bad idea to dress your child in white. Like, kids get into a lot of mischief. So I don't think you would want to dress your kid in white. Like, that just seems like you're creating work for yourself. Did they have stray dogs back then? I'm curious. But I think maybe they didn't have leashes, so it might have been someone's dog. Because, I mean, for example, now in Japan, you really don't have any stray dogs anywhere, and it was really weird. I saw a stray cat, and that was the highlight of the stray animals in Japan. And it was a very well-fed stray cat, because it was kind of the only stray cat around, I believe. So everybody fed it. It had like 3 bowls of tuna, and I don't know, maybe there were other cats as well, but I only saw one, and it seemed like it was spoiled. Like, pampered cat. And it was in front of the National No Theater. So it was like a really fancy place, very expansive fancy place that I couldn't afford to go to the Kabuki theater, let alone to the No theater. So that cat chose a classy place to bum around. Post office. Why is it fat if it lives next to a post office? Do they give them confiscated goods? Because I know some legislation, you know, you're forbidden to ship certain kinds of foods abroad. So, you know, they confiscate prosciutto and pancetta and other things like that, and they feed the cat with them. I mean, why is it so fat? I went to the post office this Tuesday and he was on their heater. Cats have it good. I mean, if I could reincarnate as anything, I would definitely want to be a cat. Most of the time they're like really pampered and spoiled little brats. And I would also like to have a cat. I miss having a cat. A bar near the office gives him food that on Tuesday when there is the market in the square it stays near the meat and fish cart. So it knows where to go to get the good stuff. It's a sneaky cat. Hi, June. Yep, also people take care of it. It looks well. It's the only cat I saw cross the street on zebras. So it's a smart cat. I guess that's why people take care of it. They appreciate its intelligence. June, did I show you the Shug monkey? I don't remember. So the Shug monkey is a creature that visits certain areas in Cambridge. Ah, there we go. They fear it's a cat from the future who wants to rule the world if not fed. It could be, it could be. Yeah, I think I did tell you. No, I wasn't sure, but I thought I'd remind you because later on this story, like more people are gonna take notice of them fooling around Cambridge, and there's gonna be a poster, a wanted poster for Erwin. Um, I don't know if I'll have time to fit in that story as well, but maybe it will be worth it to kind of make the chapter extra long. I don't know. Because I try not to put too much historical information in there, like only pieces, dots here and there. Kind of get people interested in who Leibniz and Newton were. And if my page count doesn't come out good to include this, I'm definitely gonna put it as a quest in a video game when I get to do the Erwin video game and Niels Erwin and Niels video game. Because this comic pretty much started out from the fact that we couldn't do a video game, and so I thought, okay, if I can't do the video game now, at least I'll do the comic. Yeah, the special episode. Spin-off. I'm trying to stay focused on the main story. Like, I do have this tendency to go, oh, I want to tell this and I want to tell that and I want to do this and that and that and that. And sometimes, you know, I wonder, does it really add anything to the story aside from it being funny? Because, I mean, I'm not restricted by deadlines or budgets or things like that, but still, I want to make it a cohesive story. I don't know. At the same time, I kind of wonder, why do I put these limitations on myself if I can afford to do whatever I want? Why not do it and later on cut it if it's not necessary? Angry Erwin. What are you looking at, baby human? Have you ever seen a talking cat before? Oh, that ear there, I forgot to make it white. Better do it before I forget. Okay, so and white. Here I'm gonna be a little bit gray because it's shadowed. There's so many stories I want to tell. Hope I live to 80 years, because at the rate I'm doing the comics and writing the stories, it's gonna take me 100 years. So, yeah. Hey Dracarius, how's it going? How have you been? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm good. I've been drawing a whole lot. Oh, that's awesome. What have you been drawing? Can you show us? I've been drawing what's in my profile picture. It's just a beige dot. I mean, I'm sure there might be more there, but I can't see it at the moment. I'm gonna have to go to your channel. I gotta write down to do that so I don't forget, because I never get you in my feed. Found my sticky notes. There we go. So I'm still super happy I got to chapter 3. I'm like really proud of myself. Managed to do 2 chapters out of 6. Yeah, I can't see the image. Does not have storage. Da, 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 da. Do you have a website, or do you post them on Instagram or something like that? I mean, is there somewhere people can follow your art? Access denied. I'm still getting views on my 2 video, June, if you can believe that. I've gotten to over 2,000 views on my 2 video, and I'm surprised because now I've been kind of checking the statistics for my Stardew Valley videos, and I kind of ran into the ones for my 2 video, and I was surprised like people are still watching it after so many years. I think it's more of accidental clicks, because there weren't that many people that knew about it to begin with, so I would be surprised why would anybody run into it again. I think maybe because 2 is an actual Japanese word, maybe people that are trying to learn Japanese accidentally come across my video. I don't know. Because I can't think of a better explanation. This one has to work. You were saying, like, is there part of the name URL you forgot to paste? HTTPC. Yeah. Let's see. If I can get your main page. And I think it's this one. Yeah, I think this is the dragon thing. Like, this is an actual dinosaur, or is it like fantasy stuff? Tormolf. Yep. Oh, you have a YouTube channel. I am subscribed. I knew I was subscribed. There we go. Yeah, I like drawing fantasy too. It's fun. You don't have to think too much about if it's real, if it's feasible. I mean, I try to make stuff that would work in real life. And there are some pretty weird dinosaurs out there that have existed, so I can't be offending too much. Actually, I think this stone would be yellow as well. Let's see, Saint Bennett. How do they have their walls here? So I gotta go back to there's a border there. Ah, Trinity College. There it is, Newton's apple tree. And it's a horrible color, I can't tell what it is. What color do you think this is, June? Soggy brown with some green. Yeah. You just leave it gray for the moment if I get any inspiration for the stone. Because I can think it's kind of weird at the time they didn't have any green stone there, any gray stone there. I mean, you would expect usually like stone is gray everywhere, but it's not, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I hope I'm not gonna have a historian geologist look at my comic and say, "Oh, your stone is geologically inaccurate. We did not have that kind of stone there at that time." Oh. Okay. But I don't think that's ever gonna happen. Like, I don't think I'm ever gonna get to that level of detail, but since I do have the main character that is part Chinese, I did have a Chinese person like constantly correcting everything I wrote. I was like, no, no. And I'm like, it's stupid English. It's not my fault they can't decide how to write your Chinese words phonetically. But I still have to change some of the things. I've changed some of them when Niels kind of says one Chinese word in one comic on one page or another. And I think I still have some that I need to correct. But I just hate writing. I have a typo in my Ernest book, so I retracted it and I corrected it, but I'm kind of lazy about putting it up on Ludo again. Because I'm sure there's gonna be another typo and I'm gonna have to order another proof copy. I mean, it's so much easier to publish digitally. Because you can just go and correct whatever problem there is. You go, correct it, and upload it again, and nobody even notices that you made a mistake. Because you can choose to say if you updated or not the comic. And I usually don't say that I have updated. I'm like, keep it quiet that I had some typos. Like, nobody called me out on them. I'm like, yes. Talking too much, my mouth is dry. Oh, and it's almost 5, so I think I'm gonna end the stream here and continue next week. Hope you've enjoyed my stream, hope you had fun. And see you in the next video, and have a lovely weekend. Sunny, warm, pretty weekend that you can go out after this long winter. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.